For centuries, the cathedrals of Europe have stood like sleeping giants, silent, majestic, and full of secrets. Millions of visitors walk beneath their towering arches every year, mesmerized by the colored glass, the scent of incense, and the echo of ancient choirs. Yet few realize that behind these sacred walls lie mysteries far older and darker than the church itself. Every stone, every carving, every shaft of light passing through those stained glass windows tells a story. One that whispers of forbidden knowledge, lost civilizations, and ancient powers hidden in plain sight. Some believe these cathedrals were built to bring man closer to God, but others insist they were designed to hide truths that humanity was never meant to uncover. What if I told you that beneath the prayers and the rituals, these cathedrals conceal maps of the stars, alchemical codes, and messages left by secret societies? What if these were not merely places of worship, but libraries of stone, built by those who knew the secrets of creation itself? Imagine standing in the cold silence of a cathedral like Notre Dame, the morning light cutting through the rose window, painting the floor with sacred geometry. To most, it's just sunlight, but to the initiated, it's a code, a celestial alignment marking something greater. The masons who built these structures weren't ordinary builders. They were philosophers, scientists, and mystics. They carved into the walls what they could never write in books, knowledge that could outlive empires and religions. The church might have claimed these cathedrals as symbols of faith, but the blueprints whisper of something else. The knowledge of the ancients, the language of the stars, and a message meant only for those who know how to read it. The deeper you look, the stranger it becomes. Why do so many cathedrals align perfectly with the sun on solstices and equinoxes? Why are there carvings of strange creatures, half human, half beast, lurking on the same walls that tell the story of Christ? And why do certain cathedrals share identical architectural secrets, as if built from a hidden master plan passed down through generations of silent brotherhoods? These are not coincidences. They are signatures of an ancient intelligence. The same geometry that shapes the pyramids of Egypt and the temples of Greece is encoded in Europe's cathedrals, suggesting a connection that defies history. As you walk deeper into this world of stone and shadow, you begin to realize that the cathedrals are not just monuments of faith. They are living puzzles, designed to reveal themselves only to those who ask the right questions. Some say they hold the secret of divine creation. Others claim they guard something far more dangerous, a truth that could rewrite human history. Tonight, we will uncover the symbols, the geometry, and the hidden language carved into Europe's cathedrals. Because the question is no longer what these cathedrals are, but what they were built to hide. When you gaze up at the towering vaults of a Gothic cathedral, it feels like stone itself has learned how to breathe. Every arch, every pillar, every rib of the ceiling is part of a hidden language, a geometry of devotion and design that unites heaven and earth. Medieval architects did not build by accident. They worked with the sacred proportions of the universe, using what they called divine geometry, the same mathematical harmony found in seashells, flowers, and galaxies. The golden ratio and Fibonacci spirals are woven into the floor plans and facades, ensuring that each structure resonates with cosmic order. Cathedrals such as Chartres in France or Salisbury in England align perfectly with celestial movements. Their rose windows mirror the sun's path across the sky. Even the placement of doors, towers, and transepts forms a cross that reflects both earthly and heavenly balance. To the faithful, it was a house of God. To the builders, it was a sacred machine, designed to transform light into spirit, stone into story. Every measurement held meaning, every angle was a prayer. These men believed that by mastering the mathematics of the divine, they could touch eternity. The architecture was never just about beauty, it was about encoding truth. And if one learns to read that code, each cathedral becomes a map leading not upward toward the heavens, but inward into the very fabric of creation itself. Long before Christianity spread through Europe, ancient tribes worshipped the earth, the sun, and the cycles of nature. When the church rose to power, it needed to absorb these older faiths rather than destroy them. So cathedrals were often built directly atop pagan temples, places where Druids, Celts, and Romans had once offered sacrifice to their gods. The stones beneath these cathedrals still pulse with that forgotten energy. Notre Dame de Paris, for example, was erected on the ruins of a temple to Jupiter. The worship of the goddess Isis, the mother figure of Egypt, was transformed into veneration of the Virgin Mary, Our Lady. Even the festivals of pagan Europe were reshaped into Christian holidays, yet the symbols endured. Serpents carved beside saints, vines and suns hidden in the corners of sacred art, and statues whose gestures echo ancient fertility deities. These were not accidents. The early architects understood that you cannot erase belief. You can only rewrite it in a new language. So they merged the sacred with the forbidden, allowing the old gods to hide within the new faith. The result was a living compromise between heaven and earth, where Christianity and paganism quietly coexisted. Every cathedral became a bridge between two worlds, one visible, one forgotten. And perhaps that is why, stepping inside, one feels so strangely familiar, as if some buried part of humanity still recognizes the echo of those earlier gods whispering beneath the Christian hymns. The mystery deepens when we ask, who truly built these cathedrals? History names the bishops who ordered them, but not the hands that shaped them. Those hands belong to a brotherhood, the Freemasons, heirs of ancient guilds who guarded their craft with silence and symbol. In an age when most could neither read nor write, these builders spoke in a secret language of geometry and signs. The square and compass, the all-seeing eye, the interlocking circles, all appear subtly carved into stone facades and cloister columns. To outsiders, they were decoration. To initiates, they were formulas of balance and illumination. Masonic law taught that creation itself followed mathematical law, and to reproduce that law in architecture was to imitate the mind of God. Cathedrals like Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland overflow with these cryptic patterns, cubes, stars, and vines forming a hidden code that scholars still struggle to decode. Some say the Masons preserved knowledge from the Temple of Solomon, others that they carried forward the wisdom of Egypt's priest architects. Whatever their origin, their fingerprints are everywhere, invisible to most, unmistakable to those who know where to look. The church tolerated them because their skill was unrivaled, but feared them because their loyalty was to truth, not to dogma. Thus, within every cathedral, two forces intertwine, faith and the secret science of those who built it. The Masons carved into eternity what could never safely be written, the blueprint of enlightenment disguised as a house of prayer. When sunlight pierces through the stained glass windows of a cathedral, it does more than illuminate the nave. It performs an ancient alchemy. To medieval minds, light was divine matter, the visible breath of God. The glass was its crucible, transforming raw sunlight into living color, red for sacrifice, blue for heaven, gold for the eternal. Yet these colors also mirrored the stages of the alchemist's quest, from blackness of ignorance to the golden perfection of enlightenment. The great rose windows were not merely decoration. They were mandalas of transformation, designed to awaken the soul through color and geometry. At Chartres Cathedral, for instance, the light entering the main window at noon on Midsummer Day strikes the labyrinth engraved in the floor, uniting heaven as fire with earth, stone in one luminous moment. The builders believed that to walk this labyrinth under sacred light was to journey through the mysteries of existence itself. every shard of glass was a coded fragment of creation's story, each hue corresponding to cosmic elements, mercury, sulfur, salt, and to virtues of the spirit. The art of glassmaking was guarded like an occult science, and those who mastered it were both artisans and mystics. Even today, as the sunlight dances through centuries-old glass, it reminds us that these cathedrals were designed not only to house the faithful but to transform them, to transmute ordinary light into revelation and the human heart into gold. Beneath the quiet sanctuaries of Europe's cathedrals lies another world, a kingdom of shadow, silence, and bones. The crypts and catacombs were built as resting places for saints, martyrs, and kings, but rumors tell of things far stranger buried below. In the underbelly of St. Peter's Basilica lies the necropolis, a labyrinth of tombs older than the church itself. Some claim that hidden chambers there hold relics too controversial to be displayed, scrolls that question official doctrine, or artifacts from a forgotten age. In Chartres, sealed passageways lead to vaults that have never been opened in modern times. At Rosslyn, the Serpentis Pillar is said to guard an underground vault rumored to contain the Ark of the Covenant or the head of John the Baptist. Whether legend or truth, the crypts remind us that cathedrals were as much about death as life. They were designed as gateways, places where the living could commune with the eternal. Candles flicker beside skulls carved in stone, and Latin inscriptions whisper of resurrection and judgment. But perhaps these symbols speak also of rebirth in another sense, the passing of secret wisdom from one age to the next, hidden beneath the altar until the world is ready to understand. In the chill air of those catacombs, one can almost feel that wisdom breathing still, waiting, patient as the stone that guards it. If you wander slowly along the outer walls of any medieval cathedral, you'll find faces staring back at you, grotesque, comical, and terrifying. These are the gargoyles and carvings that have puzzled historians for centuries. Why would holy places be covered in monsters? The church claimed they were symbols of evil driven away from sacred ground. But others believe they are older than Christianity itself, echoes of forgotten deities, guardians or spirits of the earth. The Green Man, for instance, appears hidden among the foliage of countless cathedrals, his face sprouting leaves, symbolizing nature's eternal cycle of life and death. Demons, dragons, and hybrid beasts cling to the gutters, each frozen mid-scream, perhaps to remind humanity of the chaos that faith keeps at bay, or perhaps to preserve stories the church dared not tell. Some carvings seem almost human, their expressions filled with secret knowing. Were these self-portraits of the stonemasons, signatures left in defiance of anonymity, or codes, symbolic markers for initiates who could read their meanings? In stone, nothing is random. Every curve, every chisel mark carries intention. Together, these creatures form a hidden scripture of images, speaking a language that predates text, a warning, a memory, or maybe a promise. To walk among them is to feel watched by the past, as if the walls themselves are alive and whispering truths too dangerous for words. The builders of Europe's cathedrals were not only architects, they were astronomers. Their eyes were fixed as much on the heavens as on the earth. Many cathedrals align perfectly with the sunrise on solstices or the setting sun on equinoxes. At Chartres, sunlight on the summer solstice falls through a specific window and illuminates a metal plate embedded in the floor, a precise celestial event recorded in stone. At Strasbourg, the cathedral's astronomical clock tracks not just the hours, but the positions of the planets, eclipses, and equinoxes, revealing the deep marriage of science and faith. These alignments were not coincidence, they were deliberate acts of devotion, encoding the movements of the cosmos into the heart of worship. The cathedral thus became a cosmic instrument, a calendar, a compass, and a temple all at once. For the medieval mind, understanding the heavens meant understanding God's design, for the sky was his handwriting. Yet such precision also suggests knowledge inherited from far older civilizations. Babylonian astronomers, Egyptian priests, and Greek mathematicians whose works were thought lost. Somehow those secrets resurfaced in the cathedrals of Christian Europe. When the sun strikes the altar at the exact moment of midsummer dawn, it is as if creation itself bows in rhythm. The builders made sure heaven and earth would meet in light, proof that the divine order was not somewhere above us, but moving silently through the geometry of every stone. After centuries of study, historians, theologians, and mystics still cannot fully decipher the cathedral's hidden language. Some say these structures preserve a fragment of the lost knowledge of Atlantis. Others claim they encode the spiritual anatomy of the human soul. What is certain is that the architects who designed them knew things the church could never officially sanction. The mathematics of creation, the power of light, the transformation of matter and spirit. Over time, such knowledge was declared heresy, and the guilds that carried it retreated into secrecy, yet their message endures, written not in words but in stone and symmetry. The cathedrals remind us that truth cannot be destroyed, only disguised. Perhaps the greatest secret they guard is not a treasure or relic, but a realization that the divine is not confined to heaven or scripture, but woven through the very fabric of reality. Every beam of light, every echo beneath the vaults, every vibration of the organ's tone resonates with that truth. To enter these places is to step inside a thought of the universe itself, a thought carved by human hands that understood the mystery they were touching. And maybe, just maybe, the forbidden knowledge was never meant to be hidden from us at all. It was meant to wait in silence until we learned how to see. As we step back from the shadows and silence of Europe's cathedrals, one truth becomes clear. These are not merely houses of worship. They are living books, written in stone and light, designed to speak across centuries to anyone willing to look, to listen, to understand. Each arch, each carving, each beam of sunlight is a letter, a word, a sentence, in a story that blends faith, science, art, and mystery. The builders of these great cathedrals were more than craftsmen. They were philosophers, mathematicians, mystics, keepers of knowledge that dared not be spoken aloud. In their hands, stone became language, light became scripture, and every shadowed corridor became a lesson in the unseen order of the universe. Walking through these sacred halls, one cannot help but feel the weight of time pressing gently against the soul. The crypts whisper of death and rebirth, the gargoyles stare with ancient wisdom, and the rose windows scatter colors that dance like alchemy across the floors. These cathedrals are not simply relics of a past age. They are a bridge between worlds, a conversation between humanity and the divine, a secret that waits patiently to reveal itself. Perhaps the greatest mystery is not hidden in the crypts or carved into the stone, but in us. For every visitor who gazes upon these walls in awe, a question arises. Are we seeing only what we have been taught to see, or are we glimpsing a truth older and deeper than the centuries themselves? The cathedrals stand as reminders that knowledge is never lost, only hidden, waiting for the curious, the patient, the brave to uncover it. So, the next time you find yourself beneath a Gothic spire or in the quiet glow of a stained glass window, look closer, listen carefully, walk the labyrinth, trace the carvings, feel the light. The secrets of Europe's cathedrals are not locked away forever. They are alive, waiting for those who dare to see what lies beyond the surface. And perhaps, in understanding their mysteries, we might also understand something about ourselves, our history, our faith, and the enduring quest for truth that continues to echo through the ages.